It was very hard beginning of my life. I miss every night, every day, the goats, the camel, the nomads atmosphere. Like people in the city, they will pass by a flower and just pick it up and try to smell it and killing the flower. But for a nomad, he would not pick a flower. He will just look at this flower and see the really shape and the beauty like of this flower. It's much more about focus, patience, and also living a simple life, like being satisfied with whatever you have, consuming less water, less food, and I think this is one of the most important things that humans have to learn now everywhere, like how to consume less things, how to be friendly to the nature, how to appreciate nature. My name is Muhammad. I am a local nomad from Muhammad Sahara. I was born in the Sahara and grew up in the Sahara for like my early life. Because of education's needs, I had to go for school and my family were living in the Sahara. In every chance, I go back to the Sahara and I live this kind of life where like you combine between the modern life and being a nomad. It was very hard beginning of my life. I miss every night, every day, the goats, the camel, the nomads atmosphere, like being around the fire, surrounded by animals and not in too much noise. But like over the year I had to adapt with this situation. There will be like more members in my families, joining in the village. I think it's not easy to combine between being a nomad, living modern life, not easy. You know, nomads in general are everywhere in the world. It's a term for all people who lives in the wilderness. Their entire life is connected with like a pack of animals, can be goats, camel or cow, and their life is kind of movement. They are in a everyday movement or my seasonal movement, and that's why they are called nomad. And it's the same fact can be applied to my family. So we lived in the Sahara. Maybe our grandfathers, grandparents can be from anywhere from the Sahara, because the Sahara, like backward in the history, there was just one big Sahara called the North African Sahara. And for now it's like in many countries, it can be like the most of Algeria, south of Morocco, Mauritania, Chad, Mali, Niger, parts of Burkina Faso, and many parts. So our ancestors moved all these areas without no challenges, like any borders to stop them. Maybe the only challenges were like the climate. Maybe when it doesn't rain or something. The last tens of years there was changes. There is borders between countries, and the nomads of the Sahara, they can no more travel as they used it to do, and they are more like focusing on being in one Sahara country, and the zone is limited, so their lifestyle has changed just with this fact. And there was many other changes and challenges. The climate changes over the years, and maybe also the modernizations. The people are more leaving the Sahara and moving to cities and villages. They need education for their kids, or they no more can hold the challenges. For now, there is like less people living in the Sahara, few members, and I have experienced this with my families. Like just in the 2000s, I remember like there was like more families, and like most of members of my family, they were all together in the Sahara. But like every year, like one family leave the Sahara to live either to the village of Muhammad or another village or in a city. If we want to talk about nomads nowadays in our moments, there is nomads, and I think might be very less than before, much more less, and their life is totally different from their ancestors. They still roam in the Sahara with their animals, living maybe with the goats and camels, but community is small. It's like for our nomads now, there is much more like homeless feelings, like because there is less people, and it's not like the community of nomads anymore, like very less. And also there is many changes. In the past, they used to use animals for their transportation. There was like many stages in my life where like I feel like I am a nomad more than like a person who wants to live in a village. Very long battle between like being a nomad and being not a nomad. But at the moment I feels like I wanted to share my culture with all people around the world and to give something back to the Sahara and to the people of the Sahara, and also like spending this part of my life in the Sahara with the family. I was like lucky because I had school. Not most of my family members had school. I think the hardest part was like when moving from Hamid's and the Sahara zone to study in the university and also works sometimes in the city after the university. And at that moment I was totally disconnected from the Sahara life. I feels like the modern life is the only option. I wasn't visiting the Sahara that much for a few years, and but like at certain moments I was like watching videos of nomads. I watched a video, it was like by BBC. It was like short film about my grandfather. They accidentally find him in the desert, and it was like the 2006 I guess, and they film a little bit about him and his life, and he was like young and still like having younger than now and still moving in the deserts and refusing to go back to the village. I find it like funny and nice, and I was like watching this video for many times, and when I was back, like I find out that my grandfather is getting too old and he's no more in the desert, and like I feel too much responsibility. And since that moment I was thinking about like one day making similar things, filming the life of the nomads, inspiring other people to travel to the Sahara. And now I find myself doing the same thing, which is really like weird how ideas shapes your reality. I won't be like really like the true nomads who were spending their entire life in the Sahara. But over the years I always try to understand and learn from the elder people, and I think it's nature in general taught you a lot of things. The desert is hard, the mountains are hard, and places where there is snow hard. And I think people who live in desert or nature places, whom their entire life is connected to what is around them, they have more patience and more focus on everything around them. It's like they start giving names to their animals based on their personalities of the animals. They give names to every piece of land. For a person who comes to the Sahara, will just see a Sahara. But for like people who lives in the Sahara, every location has a name, every plant has a name. And I think it's with nomads people and people who lives in nature, they have more like focus on the beauty of nature, which cannot be found now in the modern life. For people in the city, they will pass by a flower and just pick it up and try to smell it and killing the flower. But for a nomad, he would not pick a flower. He will just look at this flower and see the really shape and the beauty like of this flower. It's much more about focus, patience, and also living a simple life, like being satisfied with whatever you have, consuming less water, less food. And I think this is one of the most important things that humans have to learn now everywhere, like how to consume less things, how to be friendly to the nature, how to appreciate nature. Because like we have seen now the climate changes everywhere and the results of the human mistakes, and I think it's important that there is nomads people. Allahu Akbar. It's important to have these lessons in general for everyone all around. Allahu Akbar. Tea time.
Go on.
Who wants tea? Just oh fuck, I damaged. Is it working? Is it recording this?
It's just so interesting.
For the next generation, I think it can be decided by nature. I think nobody can tell, because people in the past, they had no choice just to live in nature, to live in the Sahara, or to live anywhere. But now things changed a lot. People stick to modern life, stick to life in cities.